This story is about a week old, but I just want to give my little take on it. It's pictures of Anthony Joshua that emerged from his training camp over there in the US in Texas with Derek James, and he's chopping trees, like Rocky Balboa style. Now, this is probably just a photo op. Maybe he wasn't even chopping trees for more than a few seconds. Who knows, right? Got no idea. However, if this is actually part of his training routine, obviously it's heavy impact, so there's always the potential that you could injure something if you do too much of this. But at the same time, I remember Ernie Shavers' interview with him. He's a heavyweight from the 1970s and 80s who was known to be a tremendous puncher, fought Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, so on and so forth, Ken Norton. And he was asked about the secret to his punching power, and he said he chops a lot of trees. I don't know whether that was the inspiration for putting it in the Rocky films, because when did the first Rocky film came out? It was in the 70s, right? So it must have been before Shavers did the interview. But then again, maybe Sylvester Stallone and the other people that worked on Rocky, maybe they were speaking to people in the box. I have to imagine they were speaking to people in the boxing community. Maybe they'd heard that Shavers was doing this, the tree chopping, and all this kind of thing. So yeah, that's what Shavers said with regards to him developing this punching power. Now, look, punching power is a thing which can be developed, but due to a number of factors, a lot of it is biomechanics, but there are other factors as well. Some people are always going to be able to punch harder than others. Okay, but if you're someone that has an aptitude for punching, you can certainly improve it. You can certainly increase your power. Anyone can increase their power. All right. But if you've already got a certain amount, you can take it to the next level. Now, Anthony Joshua has always been a good puncher, but I've always felt as though he could improve his punching power even more if he sat down in his shots a bit more. Now, sometimes you will see him sitting down in his shots. I mean, famously, when he fought Andy Ruiz and he was going in for the finish after he dropped him in the third, he was sitting down on his shots. But a lot of the time, AJ doesn't really sit down on his shots. He's kind of throwing, not necessarily arm punches, but he could bend his knees more and get more rotation. Okay, that's what I'm saying here. Now, when you are chopping trees, you're obviously working certain muscle groups. You're obviously, moving your body in a certain way. It's strength and endurance at the same time. It's going to be interesting to see if this has any noticeable effect on Anthony Joshua, because sometimes you can do a certain type of training which you've never done before, and the results can be tremendous very quickly. I remember the first time that I used one of these wall targets. So in boxing gyms, you've got various different types of punch bags, right? Big, heavy bags, you've got speed bags, you've got focus, they call focus balls. I forget what they actually call them, the technical name. But one thing which isn't in a lot of boxing gyms, some boxing gyms have them, but you don't see them in all of them, is they have these wall targets, okay? And these usually made out of leather. These targets that are fixed to a bracket on the wall, and they come out maybe, I don't know, 1.5 feet, okay? And they're, like I say, made out of leather. They're padded. They're usually quite stiff. And this obviously doesn't have anywhere near as much give to it as a normal heavy bag, which is swinging around in a chain, okay? And so when I started using that way back in the days, this must have been early 2000s, it was very tiring, first of all, because there's very little give when you're hitting one of these things. So I'm hitting it, and I'm building up my endurance and stamina, hitting it as hard as I can. I would always go for power, hit it as hard as I can and as fast as I can. And when I went from doing that for a few weeks on that bag back to hitting a normal bag, my punching power, and I was already a good puncher, but my punching power went to the next level because there's no give on this thing I was hitting. So when I was hitting the heavy bags on the chain, I mean, they were flying all over the place all of a sudden, right? So, and I recommended that to other people over the years when I was boxing to use that wall pad, wall bag, whatever you want to call it, wall target. And they came back to me and said, you know what, you're right. Because it was just sitting there in the corner of the gym. People would hardly use it. But when I told them to go use it, yeah, they saw the benefits as well. And they were really noticeable benefits. The same way with, I always used to like to use the maze bag. Okay, there's a type of bag which isn't so popular these days, but since the invention of aqua bags, people tend to prefer them. They're cheaper than maze bags. But I personally still prefer maze bags over aqua bags. I like aqua bags, but I like maze bags more. And when I started using maze bags, my combination punching with the short uppercuts and hooks developed tremendously when using that. And as I say, the benefits of it were apparent very quickly. I didn't have to wait years I didn't even have to wait months. It was literally within a matter of weeks, I was noticing a big difference in my ability to punch fast up close. So all of that, right, to say, yeah, it could just be a photo opportunity. It could just be, Instagram, whatever. But it will be interesting to see if the tree chopping, is an integral part or a significant part of Anthony Joshua's strength and conditioning training that he's been doing over there in training camp in the US and Texas. So, yeah, let's see if he turns into Ernie Shavers. He was already a good puncher, but let's see if it can improve even more and whether Mr. Jermaine Franklin is going to bear the brunt of it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And also, yeah, let me know if there's any training that you've done, any techniques that you've tried that had a similar effect where you saw dramatic improvements in performance in certain areas, maybe unexpectedly so. Yeah, let me know.